You're standing in a room full of people when someone makes a cutting remark about you. Everyone goes quiet. All eyes turn to see how you'll react. In that moment, your response doesn't just determine what they think of you. Your next 30 seconds will determine how people treat you for the next 30 years. If you've ever wondered why some people get walked all over while others command instant respect without saying a word, you're about to discover the dark psychology behind it. Today we're diving into Machiavelli's ruthless playbook for handling disrespect. This isn't about being petty or vindictive. This is about never tolerating disrespect again. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to command respect without saying a word. First response: the power of strategic stillness. Here's the counterintuitive truth. The person who goes silent first controls the entire interaction. When someone disrespects you, your first move isn't a move at all. It's the absence of one. But not just any silence. Strategic silence. The Machiavellian silence. Weaponized stillness. A pause so loaded with tension that it makes everyone in the room recalibrate. Here's what happens in that moment. They expect you to laugh it off. They expect you to get defensive. They expect you to explain yourself or fight back immediately. What they don't expect is for you to go completely still, like a predator that just locked onto its prey. This isn't passive silence. This is active withdrawal. You don't smile. You don't nod. You don't give them the social lubrication they need to slide their disrespect past you. You create a vacuum where their words hang in the air, exposed and ugly. Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous person in any room is the one whose next move you can't predict. When you go silent after being disrespected, you become that person. Suddenly they're not sure if you're planning, processing, or about to destroy them. That uncertainty is your first weapon. Because the human mind can't handle unpredictability from someone it just tried to diminish. It creates a psychological itch they can't scratch, a tension they can't resolve. Watch their body language change. Watch them try to fill the silence. Watch them start explaining their joke or backpedaling their comment. That's the sound of someone realizing they might have just made a terrible mistake. But silence alone won't save you. You need something more surgical. You need to make them expose themselves completely. The interrogation technique, turning defense into offense. Want to watch someone who disrespected you start sweating? Don't defend yourself. Question them instead. After you've held that powerful silence, you deploy what Machiavelli would call the mirror strategy. Instead of reacting to their attack, you reflect it back as a question, forcing them to own their words publicly. You look them directly in the eye and say with calm precision, "I want to make sure, heard that correctly. Could you repeat it?" Or, "That's an interesting choice of words. Care to explain what you meant by that?" Or simply, "Did you think that through before you said it?" Each question is a surgical strike. You're not defending against their disrespect. You're making them defend their decision to disrespect you. Most people who test boundaries are opportunists, not warriors. When you force them to stand behind their words in the spotlight, they begin to realize they've miscalculated. This technique transforms you from victim to interrogator, from defendant to prosecutor. And everyone watching learns something crucial. You don't absorb attacks, you redirect them. Relationship recalibration, the permanent shift. Here's what separates the respected from the repeatedly violated. They never go back to normal. Most people handle the moment well enough, then make the fatal mistake of trying to return to how things were before. They think forgiveness means forgetting, that being the bigger person means pretending nothing happened. This is social suicide. After you've established the boundary, you must enforce the new reality. This is your third step. The warmth you once gave freely is now earned. The easy access they once had is now restricted. You don't announce this shift. You simply embody it. Your tone becomes more formal. Your availability decreases. Your energy, once freely given, is now carefully rationed. You're not being petty. You're being strategic. You're teaching everyone in your social circle a fundamental lesson. Violating your respect has permanent consequences. Machiavelli understood that public education is more powerful than private revenge. When others see how you respond to boundary violations, they adjust their own behavior accordingly. Your new posture becomes a warning that ripples through every future interaction. This distinguishes the revered from the overlooked. It's not supremacy through threats. It's authority through standards. You've demonstrated to everyone, I'm unavailable for that treatment. And I won't justify myself to ease your discomfort about it. And suddenly the social dynamic shifts. Others observe. They grow careful. Your reputation becomes something they mention with greater consideration, reduced casualness. Because the person who remains unviolated isn't the most vocal. It's the one who knows precisely how to respond when it occurs. Not through commotion, but with measured quiet, sharp focus, and absolute refusal to prioritize comfort over dignity. That's how you terminate it at inception. Not through rage, not through pride, but with exactly what they never anticipated: restraint, removal, and complete ownership of the space. The secondary challenge: reinforcing your framework. Disrespect never stands alone. It's a test, an exploration, a deliberate touch to discover how deep they can go before you resist. And once you permit one transgression, like one barb disguised as jest, one quiet undermining, or one backhanded praise dripping with malice, you've shown everyone present what your boundaries are valued at. And Machiavelli would warn you, once they perceive you as vulnerable to attack, reclaiming authority demands twice the energy. So following that initial confrontation, after you've become motionless, address the situation without feeling and created space. What unfolds afterward carries equal weight. Because people will challenge limits again, not identically, but through more refined, more toxic methods. They'll verify if you were serious. They'll mock again, just wearing a grin now. They'll bypass you in choices and label it accidental. They'll drop an indirect remark and study your expression for any trace of uncertainty. That's when you execute your follow-up. Strengthen the boundary through excessive response. Machiavelli's approach wasn't founded on justice. It was founded on results. And he grasped something most people today refuse to acknowledge. If the consequence matches the violation, it fades from memory. But if it exceeds it, it becomes permanent. You're not responding from emotion. You're delivering a declaration. You don't get to test me again. Calculated distance. The art of social removal. Nothing terrifies a boundary tester more than realizing they've lost access to someone they thought they could control. When they cross the line again, you don't get angry. You get absent. Your responses become shorter. Your engagement becomes minimal. Your energy, once available to them, is now redirected elsewhere. This isn't the silent treatment of a hurt child. It's the strategic withdrawal of a chess master. You're not trying to hurt them. You're demonstrating that their behavior has natural consequences. They chose to test your boundaries, so they've chosen to lose your presence. The psychological impact is devastating because it's deserved. They can't call you cruel or vindictive. You're simply unavailable. And unavailability from someone who was once accessible hits harder than any insult could. And here's where most people falter. They crave harmony. They want to be liked. They believe that taking the high road will earn them respect. But Machiavelli would scoff at that notion. Respect isn't won by extending mercy. It's commanded through deliberate consequence, issued not with rage, but with restraint. Machiavelli knew that removal of privilege is more powerful than infliction of punishment. When you withdraw yourself from someone's orbit, you force them to feel the weight of what they've lost. Reputation architecture, building your social fortress. While you're handling one person's disrespect, everyone else is taking notes on who you really are. Your response to boundary violations isn't just about that one relationship. It's about your reputation with everyone who witnesses it. Every person watching learns whether you're someone who tolerates disrespect or someone who doesn't. This is your opportunity to architect how others perceive you. Not through boasting or posturing, but through demonstrated behavior under pressure. When people see you remain calm while firmly enforcing your boundaries, they internalize a new reality about you. Your name begins to carry different associations. People describe you as not one to mess with, or someone who doesn't play games. These aren't insults. They're warnings that protect you from future violations. Machiavelli understood that reputation is more valuable than gold, because it works even when you're not present. When your name alone makes people think twice about disrespecting you, you've achieved something most never will: preventive respect. Handling persistent aggressors, the escalation protocol. Some people aren't boundary testers. They're boundary destroyers who see your restraint as weakness rather than strength. Occasionally, you'll encounter someone who doesn't retreat when you establish boundaries. Instead, they escalate, mistaking your strategic calm for inability to respond with force. These individuals require a different approach entirely. When dealing with persistent violators, you stop playing defense and go on the offensive. You begin using their own behavior against them, publicly and precisely. Your responses become surgical strikes designed not just to stop them, but to expose them. You might say, "That's fascinating. Do you speak to everyone this way, or am I special?" Or, "I'm curious. Does this approach usually work for you?" Each response is designed to make them confront the ugliness of their own behavior in front of others. You're not debating, you're exposing, you're holding up a mirror and letting their own words echo in the silence. That's when the shift happens. Not because you shouted them down, but because you made the room see them clearly. Loud, brittle, unsure of themselves. Their confidence doesn't crumble under pressure. It evaporates under reflection. This isn't stooping to their level. It's elevating the consequences until they understand that you're not a safe target for their dysfunction. Precision retaliation, the calculated strike. When someone mistakes your silence for weakness, they're about to learn the difference between patience and powerlessness. True Machiavellian retaliation isn't emotional or immediate. It's measured, targeted, and delivered with clinical precision. When someone persistently violates your boundaries, you don't explode in anger. You implode their credibility with cold, calculated responses. Your retaliation is never louder than their disrespect, but it's always more memorable. You use their own words against them, highlight their inconsistencies, and expose their motivations with surgical accuracy, all while maintaining the same calm demeanor that initially frustrated them. The beauty of this approach is that you remain the composed one while they increasingly reveal their true nature. Observers don't see a fight. They see someone calmly dismantling someone else's attempt at dominance. This is how you win without appearing to fight, how you dominate without seeming aggressive, how you end conflicts while maintaining the moral high ground. Manufacturing uncertainty, your protective shield. The most dangerous person in any room isn't the loudest. It's the one whose next move you can't predict. They attack you when they assume you'll stay quiet. They ridicule you when they expect zero repercussions. They advance because they're certain you've never retaliated previously. That's the engine behind most contempt, the belief that you'll remain inactive. But Machiavelli grasped something else. He recognized that influence isn't about attacking frequently. It's about establishing the impression that you might, that at any instant you could decide to react in ways they never anticipated and cannot control. This is the advanced stage. You transform into a danger without ever making threats. You don't require words. You simply need to become less readable. Once you've established that you won't tolerate boundary violations, your next goal is to become unpredictable. Not erratic or unstable, unpredictable. People should never be quite sure how you'll respond to any given situation. This uncertainty becomes your shield because people naturally avoid what they can't control or predict. When someone considers disrespecting you, they should pause and think, "I'm not sure how they'll handle this, and I don't want to find out." Your measured responses, strategic silences, and calculated consequences create an aura of unpredictability that keeps potential violators at bay. They never know if you'll respond immediately or wait, if you'll address it privately or publicly, if you'll escalate or withdraw. This psychological uncertainty is more protective than any aggressive posturing could ever be. Presence over popularity, the fundamental shift. Most people want to be liked. Powerful people choose to be felt instead. There's a crucial distinction between being popular and having presence. Popular people are liked, but not necessarily respected. People with presence are felt in every room they enter, even when they say nothing at all. This is why Machiavelli cautioned against excessive openness, predictability, and clarity. A leader who is simple to decipher becomes simple to exploit. But when you're quiet, inscrutable, and disciplined, when you act once, detached and precise, then withdraw back into silence, you become an enigma. And within group dynamics, enigmas alter atmospheres. People start yielding to you, not from terror but from intuition, because the psyche instinctively shields itself from what it cannot completely grasp. This is where your ultimate belief shatters. Respect comes from being liked. Most people chase respect by chasing approval. But here is the twist. Respect doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being noticed, from being felt. It's when you enter a room and the energy shifts. Voices drop. Eyes follow. People straighten up, choose their words more carefully. That's not charm. That's not friendliness. That's presence, the kind that commands attention without asking for it. Machiavelli understood that trying to be liked by everyone makes you controllable by anyone. But when you prioritize presence over popularity, you become someone others instinctively respect, even if they can't explain why. Your presence is built through contradiction. You don't always respond, but when you do, it matters. You don't need to dominate conversations, but you refuse to be dismissed. You don't demand attention, but you never beg for it either. This shift from seeking approval to commanding respect changes everything about how others interact with you. They become more careful with their words, more thoughtful in their approach, more aware of your boundaries. Information over emotion, the mental evolution. Here's how you know you've mastered this game. Disrespect stops feeling personal and starts feeling informative. The final evolution in handling disrespect is psychological. You stop taking it as an attack on your worth and start seeing it as intelligence about the other person's character, insecurities, and motivations. When someone disrespects you instead of feeling hurt, you think, interesting. What does this tell me about their state of mind? Their attack becomes data you can use to understand their weaknesses, their fears, their desperate need to feel superior. This mental shift is liberating because it removes the emotional sting from their words. You're no longer defending against their attack. You're studying it, learning from it, filing it away for future reference. Machiavelli knew that emotional reactions make you vulnerable, but analytical responses make you dangerous. When you can observe disrespect with the detachment of a scientist studying behavior, you've achieved true power. That's the final turn of true power. When someone disrespects you, it exposes them, not you. So you don't react, you record, you remember, and then you move. Not with forgiveness, but with strategy. Do they still deserve access to you? Do you cut them off quietly, or make an example of them? Do you isolate them to send a signal, or let them fade into irrelevance? This isn't emotional chess anymore. It's strategic architecture. And as Machiavelli understood, the strongest position isn't loud or visible. It's when your boundary is so clearly defined, others fear crossing it even in your absence. The weight of absence. Victory through withdrawal. The ultimate victory isn't defeating your enemies. It's making your absence more powerful than your presence. True success in handling disrespect isn't measured by how well you fight back. It's measured by how much people miss your energy when you withdraw it. When your absence carries the same weight as your presence, you've achieved something remarkable. People who tried to diminish you suddenly realize they need your validation more than you needed theirs. They find themselves explaining to others why you're distant, making excuses for their past behavior, hoping for a return to the warmth you once freely gave. This is the final twist of power, making those who disrespected you work to regain access to something they took for granted. Your withdrawal becomes more punishing than any direct confrontation could have been. You don't chase respect anymore, because people naturally protect what they're afraid of losing. Environmental transformation becoming the standard. When you master this approach, something incredible happens. You stop adapting to rooms. Rooms start adapting to you. There's a moment in every power dynamic when the environment shifts around you. People speak more carefully when you're present. Conversations become more respectful. The entire energy of the room elevates to match your standards. You're no longer navigating social terrain. You've become the terrain itself. Your presence sets the tone. Your standards become the baseline. Your energy determines the acceptable level of interaction. This transformation is subtle, but unmistakable. People defer to you without being asked. They seek your opinion, value your silence, and interpret your reactions as indicators of social truth. Machiavelli called this being feared and loved. But in modern terms, it's being respected and valued simultaneously. The reputation test, proving your authenticity. Every time someone tests your boundaries, they're not just challenging you, they're advertising your character to everyone watching. Once you've established yourself as someone who doesn't tolerate disrespect, every subsequent test becomes a public demonstration of your authenticity. People watch to see if your boundaries were genuine or just performance art. This is why consistency is crucial. Each time you calmly but firmly enforce your standards, you're proving to the entire social ecosystem that your respect isn't negotiable. You're building a reputation that precedes you into every new interaction. Others begin to self-regulate around you, not out of fear, but out of respect for the standards you've consistently maintained. They adjust their behavior before you have to correct it, preventing violations before they occur. This is the power of proven authenticity. Your reputation does the work, so you don't have to. Selective engagement, the choice of presence. True power isn't about being in every room. It's about making every room better when you choose to be there. As your reputation solidifies, something interesting happens. Your presence becomes selective rather than default. You don't feel obligated to engage with everyone or be available to all social situations. Your warmth becomes intentional rather than automatic. Your attention becomes valuable rather than given. Your participation becomes a privilege rather than an expectation. This selectivity isn't antisocial. It's strategic. By making your engagement a choice rather than a guarantee, you increase its value. People appreciate your presence more because they can't take it for granted. Machiavelli understood that scarcity creates value, and strategic absence makes presence more powerful. The ultimate response: mercy as dominance. Want to truly break someone who disrespected you? Here's the final level of Machiavellian psychology. When someone who violated your boundaries comes back seeking forgiveness, your response determines not just that relationship, but your entire social positioning. You don't punish them for their realization. That would be expected. You don't forgive them warmly. That would reset the dynamic. Instead, you do something more psychologically devastating. You remain unchanged. No anger, no resentment, no dramatic forgiveness. Just the new reality where they no longer have the same access to you. They apologize to a version of you that no longer exists, seeking restoration of a relationship that ended the moment they chose to test your boundaries. This response is more chilling than any punishment, because it demonstrates that their violation didn't wound you. It elevated you beyond their reach entirely. The architecture of consequence, building your legacy. This isn't spite, it's influence through withdrawal. Because nothing disturbs someone who attempted to destabilize your composure more than discovering you were never reliant on them initially. You were never seeking approval, never craving acceptance, never functioning within their framework. That's the ultimate blow. When they discover that not only did their contempt fail to damage you, it strengthened you. It made you keener, more esteemed, more removed, and finally more unreachable. This is the position Machiavelli would assign you. Not the vindictive ruler who retaliates against every offense, but the quiet designer of outcomes. Someone who permits others to expose themselves publicly while staying composed, strategic, and just beyond grasp. The one who never requests regard because everyone already understands. You only commit that error once. The echo effect, when your name carries weight. Now in the wake, you'll observe something peculiar. Your reputation starts spreading in murmurs, not from conflict, but from your discipline. People begin expressing things like, they don't speak often, but when they do. Or, I've never witnessed them break composure. Or, you don't want to cross them. Or, watch yourself with that one. They don't give second chances. That's the reputation you've engineered. A presence so weighty that others recalibrate themselves on sight. They lower their volume, polish their wording, glance around to see if you're listening. Not because they're frightened, but because your energy now possesses gravity. From that moment on, respect requires no effort. You've secured something rarer than dominance, selective presence. You appear on your terms, speak only when it counts, and when you depart, whether from a conversation, a dynamic, or an entire relationship. People feel the vacancy. The person who cannot be disrespected isn't the loudest in the room. It's the one whose attention is no longer guaranteed. So let them chatter. Let them wonder what you'll do next. They already understand. Cross the line and you won't explain, argue, or chase. You'll simply fade. And that silence will thunder louder than any comeback, forever. This is the ultimate victory. When your approach to respect becomes a model, others aspire to emulate. The final choice. The next time someone disrespects you, and there will be a next time, you have a choice. You can react the way most people do, emotionally, defensively, seeking to prove your worth to someone who's already demonstrated they don't value it. Or you can respond like Machiavelli would, strategically, calmly, with the cold precision of someone who knows their value isn't up for debate. Remember this: you never have to defend what you won't allow to be attacked. Master the art of strategic silence, calculated consequence, and selective presence. Make your boundaries so clear and your responses so consistent that people police themselves around you. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to stop tolerating disrespect and start commanding the respect you deserve, then subscribe for more strategies on social power and psychological dominance. Because in a world full of people trying to tear each other down, the person who masters themselves masters everything else. The choice is yours. Will you keep absorbing disrespect, or will you learn to make it too expensive for anyone to offer?